Hi everyone. Having won round one, we now move on to round two, of course. And now this time I've got the white pieces, and as we know, I play knight f3 on move one, so that's what we play. There's not much else to say apart from just getting into the game. My opponent plays c5, and I play c4. The downside of my, or downside I guess, of my opening repertoire of playing knight f3 and move on rather than d4, despite the fact I wanted to play a lot of d4 openings, is that I want to avoid the Benoni and Benko, and in doing so, by avoiding those, I have to accept playing the English, but I'm completely fine with playing the English, and I think that's a lesser evil than the Benoni or Benko, because they are a lot harder to play. I actually talked to my opponent after the game, and he says that he does play the Benoni and Benko, so I'm quite glad that I avoided that. But yeah, got the English. He played g6, and at this point it sounds really stupid, but I'm already starting to make mistakes. And these moves I'm about to show you are completely playable moves, and masters have played them, and they're in some ways the best moves. But the downside is that I'm playing moves that I'm not super familiar with. And when you're a one knight f3 player, there aren't many gambits that you have to face, and this is the upside of the opening. There's not super tricky lines, and you don't have to face the Stafford or King's Gambit or Vienna Gambit or various other well-known Evans Gambit and stuff like that. But you do have to know move transpositions, and in some ways those are the ways that you mess up, and if you don't transpose properly, you end up in a system that you're not super familiar with, and this unfortunately is what happened. By him playing g6, he's signalling that he wants to go for a Sicilian-like structure, and we're no longer going to be playing the English, and we're going to transpose to that. And in such positions, it's a very common setup to go for the Roxy bind, which I'm about to show in a second. So after this move, really I should be playing d4. He takes, I take back. He would develop his bishop, this is all natural, and then I play e4. And the idea of the Roxy is that these pawns are going to go here, we're going to castle here, and this is the setup I'm going for. And this is very nice for white, and it's very playable for white, and I need to do some more research into this position, because I'm obviously going to be able to get it very often if this is that easy to transpose to it. Now, I played knight c3, which is still a fine move. He played knight c6, sorry. I played g3, and this is sort of where the mistakes start to begin, because the Roxy is probably the best setup that white can have in this position against black, and by playing g3, I'm not really playing e3 and putting my bishop this way, and the bishop sits much better on e2 than it does on g2. Again, not to say that this is unplayable for white, but it just makes it much easier. So g3, slightly inaccurate, and sort of driving home the point of my inaccuracy, and where this is going to turn quite ugly, is he plays e5. Now, I have played online games, and it's always frustrated me in English setups when black is able to play e5, and if anything, he's now playing the bind against me, and this becomes a lot harder for white to play. So this is just awkward, and really I should have played d4 a lot earlier at some point to prevent this, which is what happens in my game 4, and I was much happier with that position, and it made me realise I was just a complete idiot in this game. But he played e5, I castle, he brings his knight to the centre, I develop just wanting to put my bishop on this diagonal here, and he strikes in the centre, I take, he takes back, and at this point, again, this is still completely playable for white, it's just not a position I'm super familiar with, and black has a really nice centre that I've just allowed him for no reason. And I play queen c2, helping support this push, also just getting my queen off the diagonal to the file, sorry, so I can develop my rook. But this has a downside, and that my queen can be attacked. And at this point, it really does start going downhill for me. And this game is quite painful to show. But hopefully this is good, because it means I won't do it again, because I've been exposed to it. Now in this position, you really should just cut your losses and play queen b1 and just accept sort of that you've got a worse position. However, what I played in the game was queen e4, which is very ambitious, and it sort of fails. And what I overlooked, and why I played queen e4 over queen b1, is that I saw that he could play f4 or bishop f4 attacking my queen, and for some reason in my head I thought I could take here in the centre, and I forgot that his other knight defends the knight, and this is just stupid, and this is losing. So he did play f5. At this point, luckily, I realised that I can't take the knight, and now this is starting to become straight awkward for white, as there's not really much to do. Computer even suggests going straight back to b1 and admitting your mistakes. Another place you could go to is to h4, but then you can just take and then look at all this amazing central space that black has, and this is also awkward. And then there's what I played in the game, which is queen c4. which is also not great. And there's one great move here for black, which just sort of cements the central control and really pushes them to have the advantage. And my opponent found it, played e4. Credit to my opponent in this game, he played really well. And I'm actually glad that he played this well, because it really was a good lesson on how not to play this position for white. I have to move back, there's not really much else to do. The computer in this position actually suggests giving up the knight, and it just sort of shows how awful this position is for whites. Yes, you'll get a pawn. Sorry, not that move. Yes, you'll get a pawn. Oh, sorry, this knight's hanging. This is the one you have to move. Yes, you'll get another pawn back, and this game continues. But it's just, yeah, it's just not good. So I move my knight back. He plays b3. Now the threat here is for him to attack my queen, and now at this point I'm actually realizing that my queen is quite trapped. And it was really awkward in the game, and I spent like 10-15 minutes here just trying to find a way for my queen to not get trapped. And I did manage to find a way, but the position just goes so downhill afterwards. And it's why e4 previously was such a good move, because if e4 hadn't have been played, then I could have taken here, and after the bishop would attack, my queen could have hidden back on h4, but e4 sort of disconnects that and doesn't allow this idea anymore. So the way that I thought I could get out of it was to check. I saw what he could play, which is king f8. I think king f8 is quite a nasty move as well, because if you block with a bishop, then I can try and escape as well, but really I can come back here, and yeah, it's still awkward. I mean, the computer's already -7, which is horrendous to see on move 12 or 13. At king f1, still threatening this idea to trap the queen, so I have to bring the queen back, and he takes my knight, I take back, he takes here, forking again. I'm losing material even more. There isn't too much to say really at this point. All the tactics are working in his favour because he's playing well and I'm not. His pawns have a lot more space, kind of similar in game 1 where there was this massive pawn chain that I had as black, and now I'm having it against me. And my bishop is trapped. Look at these pieces, they're just all awful. So he trades off the few pieces in my position that are actually good. And yes, these are his active pieces too, but the rest of his pieces can easily come into the game. I take back, he develops attacking my rook. I throw in this move hoping to have some counterplay, but he really just shuts it all down with a really nice move here, queen d4, and I have really nothing better to do but take. And once my queens are off the board, there's not much counterplay anymore. There's no real tactics I can go for. My rook has to sit in the corner with rook g1, and yeah, this is just awful to play. He's only up 2 pawns, but this is just over at this point. There's nothing really white can do, so he just starts pushing his pass pawn. I stand in front of it, hoping to have some nice tactical ideas against it with this bishop. This is basically the only hope that I have in this position. He moves his king, I attack his knight, he moves here, and at this point I just have to go for tactics and hope that he messes up at some point. But I don't even think there was a way that he could mess up just how much better his position was. I take, he took back, I gave up a piece just to see if I can do something, but he can just attack me, push his pawn, I go to block. I have to be careful not to allow his rook to come with check, so I move my king, but he brings the rook in anyway. I have nothing to do, so I might as well just push pawns, and then he brings his rook in, attack my bishop. I can't do anything at this point. So for example, he's threatening to take, so he'll take the bishop. If I take back, he takes my rook. He's also threatening to take here. This would also be winning. And yeah, there's not much to say. I know this is a very quick video because I got crushed so quickly, and hopefully this is a lesson to show why you should not just understanding your openings is one thing, but also knowing certain move orders as well, which is why I think, especially if you're going to play one knight f3, you really need to know how to transpose to different openings. And hopefully when I show you game 4, I can show that I did learn from this mistake and I did improve and didn't allow these ideas. And I got a much better game, which I was really happy with. So if you just come back here, the main lesson for me is that when I see an early g6, I need to realise that this is no longer in English where the bishop comes to g3. It's rather this is going to be a Roxy, and I'm going to go to e2, and this is now more of a e4 opening than it is a like this. So it's more of an e4 opening than it is any Queen's Gambit or English or anything like that. But yeah, this was just awful and painful, and unfortunately I have to show the games that I lose as well as the ones I win. But thanks for watching. The games do get better than this, so hopefully you watch the other videos too and not just me getting slaughtered. But yeah, thanks.